It was still dark on the morning of December 22nd, 1944, when the cold finally began to bite through steel and bone. Snow lay thick across eastern Belgium, muffling the sound of engines and hiding wrecked vehicles beneath white drifts. Somewhere ahead, American paratroopers were surrounded, low on ammunition and running out of time. General George S. Patton had promised the impossible, a rapid armoured relief through winter roads choked with ice, fog and German resistance. But even Patton did not know that one quiet, soft-spoken commander was about to gamble everything by ignoring orders that could have ended his career. His name was Major General John Shirley Wood, and history would nearly forget what he did next. If you want more content like this, subscribe now and comment below. John S. Wood was not the kind of officer who filled a room with noise. He did not shout, curse, or boast. He spoke calmly, often in short sentences, and listened more than he talked. Many officers mistook his silence for hesitation. They were wrong. Wood had graduated from West Point in 1905, served in the old cavalry, and learned hard lessons about speed and shock long before tanks ruled the battlefield. By 1944, he commanded the U.S. 4th Armored Division, one of Patton's fastest and most aggressive units. Patton called him the best division commander in the American Army. But that praise came with pressure. Patton demanded results, and failure was never forgiven twice. On December 16, 1944, the Germans launched their last major offensive in the west through the Ardennes forest. Snowstorms grounded Allied aircraft. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. German panzer divisions smashed through thin American lines and drove west toward the Meuse River. By December 20th, the town of Bastogne was surrounded. Inside were the men of the 101st Airborne Division and elements of several other units, cut off, freezing, and under constant artillery fire. Supreme Allied Command knew Bastogne had to be relieved. Patton did not hesitate. On December 19th, in a meeting at Verdun, he stunned everyone by promising to turn his entire Third Army north within 48 hours. That promise landed squarely on John Wood's shoulders. The 4th Armoured Division was assigned as the spearhead of the relief effort. On December 20th, Wood's columns began moving north from the Luxembourg border. The roads were narrow, icy, and jammed with traffic. German roadblocks appeared suddenly, hidden in villages and forests. Panzerfaust teams waited behind stone walls. Each mile forward cost time, fuel, and lives. Wood pushed relentlessly, often riding forward in a jeep to see the situation for himself. He trusted speed more than caution. He believed hesitation was deadlier than enemy fire. By December 22nd, the division had reached the area near Martelange and Bigonville. Progress slowed to a crawl. German resistance stiffened as the relief column neared Bastogne. Patton's headquarters grew anxious. Orders came down emphasizing caution, consolidation, and securing the flanks. Wood read them, folded the paper, and did not argue. But he did not slow down either. He understood something others did not. Every hour mattered. Bastogne could fall at any moment. Late on December 23rd, after brutal fighting around Chaumont and Chaumont-sur-Aire, Wood's lead elements broke through another defensive belt. The weather began to clear. Allied aircraft roared overhead for the first time in days, striking German positions. Morale rose, but Wood remained tense. His intelligence officers warned of strong German armour near the village of Assenois, just south of Bastogne. Patton's staff sent new instructions urging coordination with adjacent units before any deep thrust forward. The message was clear. Wait, secure, align. Wood did neither. In the early hours of December 24th, Wood made a quiet decision. He ordered Combat Command Reserve, led by Colonel Creighton Abrams, to push forward toward Assenois without waiting for full flank support. It was a direct violation of standard armoured doctrine and a risky interpretation of Patton's intent. If Abrams's force was cut off, It could be destroyed in minutes by German armour and artillery. Wood did not give a speech. He did not justify himself in long explanations. He simply believed speed would save more lives than caution. As Abrams's tanks moved through the freezing fog, German fire intensified. Roadblocks flared with explosions. Infantry clung to the backs of Sherman tanks, jumping off to clear resistance house by house. Wood stayed close to the front, monitoring reports, adjusting routes, and pushing commanders forward. He ignored repeated suggestions to halt and reorganize. The pressure was immense. One mistake now could end his command, and possibly his career. On December 25th, Christmas Day, the fighting reached a breaking point. German forces threw everything they had into holding the southern approaches to Bastogne. The village of Ardennes became a killing ground. German 88 Innenlipur guns fired point-blank at advancing tanks. Several Shermans burned, lighting the snow with orange flames. Abrams radioed that resistance was heavier than expected. Standard procedure would have been to pull back and wait for reinforcements. Wood paused for a moment, then gave the order to continue. By the afternoon, American tanks smashed through Ardennes and surged north. At 1650 hours, lead elements of the 4th Armoured Division broke through to Bastogne. The siege was over. Paratroopers cheered as tanks rolled into the town, their white stars barely visible under layers of mud and snow. Wood did not enter Bastogne with the first column. He stayed behind, coordinating the widening of the corridor, knowing the Germans would counterattack hard. Patton was relieved. Bastogne was saved. But within headquarters circles, questions quietly circulated. Wood had ignored instructions. He had taken risks that could have ended in disaster. Some staff officers criticised his actions. Others defended him. Patton himself said little at first. He knew victory often came from breaking rules, but discipline still mattered. In the days that followed, German counterattacks battered the narrow corridor into Bastogne. Wood's division held firm, expanding the breach and securing supply routes. Casualties mounted. The cold worsened. Yet the decision Wood made on December 24th proved decisive. Bastogne did not fall. The German offensive began to lose momentum. What few people realized was how close Wood came to being relieved, not for failure, but for success achieved the wrong way. His quiet defiance saved Patton's timetable and preserved Third Army's momentum. But the story did not end with celebration. Behind the scenes, tension grew between Wood and higher command, and the price of ignoring orders would soon come due. The relief of Bastogne should have marked the high point of John Wood's career, but war rarely rewards quiet men for breaking rules. As December 1944 turned into January 1945, the Ardennes fighting dragged on in bitter cold. The German offensive was collapsing, but it was doing so slowly, violently, and at terrible cost. Wood's 4th Armoured Division remained on the front line, grinding forward through frozen villages and shattered forests, often fighting the same ground twice. While newspapers praised Patton's bold manoeuvre, few mentioned the man whose decision made it possible. Inside headquarters tents and drafty stone buildings, staff officers reviewed reports from the Bastogne relief. Maps were studied, timelines were questioned. Some senior commanders quietly noted that Wood had advanced faster than ordered and bypassed coordination steps meant to protect his flanks. On paper, it looked reckless. On the ground, it had worked. This contradiction followed Wood like a shadow. He did not argue his case loudly. He did not defend himself in meetings. He believed results spoke louder than explanations. But the army did not always agree. As January wore on, Patton pushed Third Army east toward the German border. The 4th Armoured Division led many of those attacks. Wood's method never changed. He favoured speed, pressure, and constant movement. He trusted his subordinate commanders and gave them freedom to act. This made his division fast and unpredictable, but it also made higher headquarters nervous. In an army that valued clear chains of command, Wood often operated on intent rather than strict instruction. By February 1945, Allied forces were approaching the Siegfried Line. German resistance stiffened again. Concrete bunkers, minefields, and well-sighted anti-tank guns slowed even the best units. Wood's division took heavy losses pushing through towns along the Our and Sauer rivers. Supplies lagged, fatigue spread. Some officers felt Wood was pushing too hard. Others believed that slowing down would only cost more lives later. The debate remained quiet, but it was growing. The breaking point came suddenly. In late February, during fighting near the Prüm River, Wood authorised a rapid advance to exploit a perceived weakness in German lines. The move gained ground, but stretched supply routes and exposed flanks. German counterfire was sharp, and casualties climbed. This time, the gamble did not produce a clean victory. Reports went up the chain, and this time they did not favour Wood. On March 3, 1945, Wood was summoned and informed he was being relieved of command of the 4th Armoured Division. Officially, the reason was exhaustion and the need for fresh leadership. Unofficially, many believed it was punishment for a pattern of aggressive decisions that made superiors uncomfortable. Patton later claimed he was forced into the decision by higher authority. Whether that was true or not, Wood was gone. The reaction within the division was immediate and emotional. Officers and enlisted men alike were stunned. Many had followed Wood through France, Lorraine, and the Ardennes. They trusted him. They believed he understood armoured warfare better than almost anyone. Some wept openly when the news spread. Wood himself said little. He shook hands, wished his successor well, and quietly departed. There was no dramatic farewell, no final speech, just a calm exit, fitting the man he had always been. History moved on quickly. The war in Europe ended 2 months later. Patton's name dominated headlines. Bastogne became legend. The story of the quiet Major General who broke the rules to save an army faded into footnotes and veteran memories. Wood never received the public recognition many believed he deserved. He retired from active service not long after the war, his health damaged by years of strain and cold. Yet among those who understood armoured warfare, Wood's legacy endured. His emphasis on speed, initiative, and trust in subordinate commanders influenced post-war doctrine more than many realised. Officers who served under him carried those lessons into a new army facing a different world. They remembered how close Bastogne came to falling, how narrow the margin had been, and how one man's decision changed everything. The irony of John Shirley Wood's story is simple and painful. The same qualities that saved Patton's army also ended his command. His quiet refusal to wait, his willingness to accept personal risk for operational success, ran against an institution that often rewarded caution over boldness. He was not reckless. He was not careless. He was decisive at a moment when hesitation would have been fatal. Today, when the Battle of the Bulge is remembered, Bastogne stands as a symbol of endurance and defiance. But endurance alone did not break the siege. It took movement, pressure, and a commander willing to ignore orders written for a slower, safer war. That commander did not seek glory. He did not argue for credit. He acted, and then he paid the price. The quiet Major General never became a household name. But on a frozen road in Belgium, in the darkest days of December 1944, his decision kept an American army alive and changed the course of the war in the West. Sometimes history turns not on loud voices or famous speeches, but on a calm officer reading an order, folding it away, and choosing to move forward anyway.